Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. Mechanic sold me a car that needed $2,000 plus in repairs. I recently bought a car from a mechanic who lied to me about the condition of the car. He had said it was basically in perfect condition and only needed brakes to pass the safety inspection in my country. I ended up needing to spend over $2,000 plus post-purchase to make it roadworthy. As a student, I really can't afford setbacks like that, and it has caused me a lot of problems lately. The guy I brought it from had cleared an engine light without fixing the problem and just covered up things right before I came to look at the car, like moving it so I couldn't see leaks on the pavement, etc. With no other way to get back at him, I was able to find his mother's Facebook account and send a lengthy message about how it has affected me and my future. Probably as petty as it gets, but I'm honestly really pissed because he put a lot of effort into selling me a real piece of garbage and I have literally no other way of getting back the money that I lost. I hope you have a really awkward Christmas dinner, Derek. Story 2. Petty revenge on housemates. I 45F live in a pad split house. It's an 8-bedroom house that I share with other people. We all have our own rooms but share the 3 bathrooms, the kitchen, and the laundry room. There is no living room. I have been in this house the longest, for over 2 years. I moved in shortly after this house was opened. Most of the stuff in the kitchen is mine, the pots and pans, the spices, the utensils, the plates, and silverware. I don't mind sharing with everyone if they clean up after themselves. I personally don't use plates, I prefer to use paper plates for easier cleanup. We have one guy here that refuses to use paper plates, so will use the real plates, but then will not clean up after himself because he is a man and doing dishes is women's work. I'm just so fed up with it. Today I washed all of the dishes again even though I didn't dirty any of them, then I boxed up all of the plates, bowls, glasses, and coffee cups. All of which are mine, that he uses and refuses to wash when he's done with it. If he wants to use plates he can buy his own. I haven't seen anyone's reaction yet, because everyone was at work when I packed up the dishes. Update: he ordered food and went to get a plate and discovered the empty cupboard. He went through the rest of the kitchen cupboards and couldn't find the plates. His face was just confused. I asked him what's wrong. He said the plates are gone. I said I know, I got rid of them because I'm tired of washing them after other people leave them dirty in the sink for days. Then I just walked away. Edit: the paper plates I use are biodegradable. I put some cat food on one outside and it literally melted in the rain. Update number 2, he started using my paper plates, so I waited until he put food in his air fryer and walked away, then I hid the whole stack of paper plates. He came back and couldn't find them, so he used an old pizza box for his food. Story 3. Power harassment. I'll enjoy my 2-month paid vacation, thanks. A bunch of us foreigners worked in a Japanese office of an English teaching company as trainers, with one guy being the lead, looked after teacher contracts, etc., instead of training. One night after we all go out drinking, said lead guy gets in my face, female, about me saying no to changing my visa type, because changing meant they could force me to sub in at schools when I didn't have the time. I looked after 120 teachers and was constantly visiting schools. Think full-on drunk and yelling at me, at the time, 30y/0, in front of co-workers, about a personal work topic. I was livid. My co-workers walked me to the station, and I was shaking the entire way. Come the next work day, guy does not apologize. Not even an inkling of remorse. This continues for 2 weeks. I couldn't stand being in the same room. Cue the revenge time. I was already thinking about changing jobs. This guy power harassing me, and he wasn't even my boss, made one thing very easy, quitting while using up paid time off. In general, a lot of companies here don't let you take most of your time off if you've already put in your resignation. I counted up all my paid days that I'd been too busy at work and too loyal to put them in a position by taking a beautiful 41 days. I then calculated my final office date and final contract date, aka after the 41 days. I called the main bosses into a meeting and showed them my calendar, explained these are my final days and they can thank lead guy for harassing me into this position. Both bosses freaked as I only had 3 weeks in office before I took 2 whole months of paid vacation, and my teacher group being the largest contract in the office with no one lined up to take over after. Sadly, neither boss would admit what the lead guy did was wrong, nor did he get punished. The bosses tried a bunch of tactics, attempting to get me to change my mind by offering to change my contract to part-time to avoid lead guy, to keeping me in a room for 4-5 mins, head boss and me, with me facing the white wall, no door/window view. Too bad they had taught me these tactics to use on teachers we were trying to fire, so I knew to just hold on and they'd give up eventually, which they did. Those 2 months ended up being necessary to work on getting over the harassment and stress, but it was amazing to have a chance to shove it in their faces and not be walked over at the end. Story 4. I left a hidden nasty note for a coworker. About 35 years ago, I worked in a crappy warehouse job. There was this one coworker, Mary, a very odd woman who really seemed to hate me. She kind of hated everyone, actually, but I was closest in proximity. She would intentionally run into me, push boxes in my way to trip me, and just generally be nasty. The boss looked the other way because he didn't know how to handle her. She worked in her own little space in the back, secluded away from everyone. Imagine Milton from Office Space, except angry, bitter, and antisocial. When I quit the job and moved to a new city, I wrote a really nasty note that said Mary is a fucking bitch, then hid it in her area in a place where I knew she wouldn't find it for weeks or months. About a year goes by and I'm back in town visiting old friends, including some former co-workers from the same company. 3 of us go out for drinks and during the conversation, the subject of Mary comes up. This one guy tells me that Mary found a nasty note hidden in her stuff and blamed it on him. He almost got fired until he convinced the boss that he had nothing to do with it. I just sat there and played dumb, going wow, that's crazy. Did they ever figure out who did it? Yes, it was a shitty thing to do. And as I look back, I can see that Mary had some serious mental health issues that I should have been more compassionate about. I was young, 29, and stupid. Story 5. Small but meaningful revenge. I was walking into a store and I passed a man leaving with 2 carts, one in front, one behind him, overfilled with cases of soda. The soda in the cart behind him was wobbling and about to fall over. I said, "The soda behind you is about to fall over," he rudely shouted. "It's fine." I went into the store. I was thinking about what a jerk is when I heard the beautiful sound of cases of soda hitting the ground. I turned around and went outside so I could watch him pick up the mess. He could see my exaggerated smile. Story 6. Sister had it coming. When I was in high school, my older sister and I lived in the basement of our house. She is a night owl by nature and I'm the opposite. She had tons of friends with cars and would be out late at night, then come home and play music till the early hours. This went on for a while, then she got a car and it continued on. She would wake up late and being my ride to school I would try to get her ass going. I was late too many times to this class and this hag for a teacher started marking down my grade. One day my sis demanded gas money from me and I reluctantly forked over $20. Then the next week she needed another $20. Old car, big engine, I understood and could only hand over $10. She was pissed and said I couldn't ride with her anymore. That was it for me. Or so I thought. I was a secretive person then, no one knew what I did in my free time. I worked under the table for construction people on the weekend, so money wasn't the issue. Eventually, after a few days, she said I could ride with her again. She asked for money as soon as we got to school. I laughed and asked what happened to the $30 from 2 weeks ago. Gas was like $1.45, what a world. She said, "Don't worry about my money, you worry about yours to pay me." I said I was broke. Lie. The end of that day I saw she had some brand new white Chuck Taylors on, which at that time were about $30. Logic follows. So, short story long, one night while she was asleep I took her chucks and stuffed open Taco Bell sauce packets in the toe area, as to not have them be seen. Knowing she would be late in the morning as usual, the placement was a non-issue, so I just put them all in there. My vengeance was untethered. She would be hurried and slam her shoes on like everyone does when they are running late. It worked perfect. I mean perfect. She had a friend that played pranks all the time, so he got the gut punch. She still never knew I did it. Story 7. Extremely expensive phone plans LLL make you give me 10 extra minutes for free. When I was about 13 years old, I got my first mobile phone. Keep in mind that this was in the early 2000s. The phone company's plans were extremely expensive, yet my parents managed to get me a plan with just 10 minutes for calls. However, they also had a special offer. For every 10 minutes of incoming calls you accumulated in a month, they gave you 1 extra minute for outgoing calls. The maximum you could receive was 10 minutes. Being an unpopular teenager, I never got more than 2 minutes, and even then I had no one to call, but that's another story. So one New Year's Day the phone company, which also ran my home landline, made all calls free for landlines. You could call any phone number, and you didn't pay a cent. So that day I called my mobile from my landline and left the call connected for 2 hours. At the end of the month I got my extra 10 minutes. Smiley face. Story 8. Lifeguard petty reporting for duty. When I was in 8th grade, I got this girlfriend. She had had rumors spread about her being mean, a slut, all sorts of terrible things. I met her through a friend of a friend and found out she lived just a few streets away from me, so we started hanging out and she didn't seem anything like what I'd heard about her. Plus I knew middle schoolers could be assholes, so I just didn't read into what I'd heard and what my friends had been telling me about her, and we became boyfriend and girlfriend. She was the first girl I said I love you to, and we hung out almost every single day. About 3.5 months into the relationship, I found out she had been cheating on me with not 1, not 2, but 6 different guys at my school and other schools. Yes, this was middle school and I know how crazy/efficient that sounds. We were hanging out so much, I have no idea how she fit it all in, but I had hard evidence and she confessed. I was heartbroken, pissed, and obviously broke things off with her, but I've always been pretty level-headed, so I decided to just try to move on and forget she existed. A couple years later, my sister got a job as a lifeguard at our local lake. My sister has always been super protective over me and she never forgot what this girl had done to me. When my ex showed up at the lake to tan with a couple friends, my sister hatched a plan with her head guard. Basically the head guard told all the guards on duty that day that they were going to be doing a training relay for the morning training. This included a run, swim, and simulated spine boarding exercise. Cones were set up for the relay, and as luck would have it, the relay track was only 3 to 4 feet away from my ex's towel. The whistle is blown, and lifeguards are sprinting right past her, running into the water, spine boarding a victim, and running back through the sand past her again. They kicked so much sand, water, and lake weed up during the exercise my sister said they all had to take turns showering afterward. My ex and her stuff were covered. She walked into the lifeguard station to complain about how gross she and her things had gotten, so my tiny little 16-year-old mama bear of a sister piped up from the back of the station and said, "You were already pretty dirty to begin with, so this should be nothing new." It was then that my ex recognized my sister, started crying, and left with her friends. Luckily, she never reported anyone and wasn't seen at that lake again. Best sister ever. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.